Good morning. Grab your coffee, and we're going to take a look at freight and talk about a couple other things. So join me right after this. Yes. Good morning. How are you? I am fine. Insert generic greeting here. I don't have my Snorelord mug. I got this, though. Oh, hold on. You got it? Thank you. Dog wanted out. So, anyways, I got this for like $7 at Aldi's. So. Cheers to you. This time of year, we just turned on the furnace this year for the first time this season, and of course, you got all that dusty, we got some scheduled maintenance coming up on it, but that's not until next month. So we're like, well, we got to turn the heat on. We had some freeze warnings. We'll take a look at that here. I was like, man, I shouldn't have to talk about the weather today, but man, there's a little bit going on here. So let me show the screen here. We'll get to the comments here. A lot of freeze and frost warnings going on, and a lot of wind, a lot of red flag warnings, a lot of wind statements. So it's going to be a breezy one. So that means your fuel mileage is going to suck regardless of what your weight of your load is. Rat man, I'll get to your comment here. But anyways, so that's kind of what's going on here. It's been an interesting week. Yes, I didn't go live Monday. I might have to switch this to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday because Mondays just don't seem to happen. I've got 2 trucks this week that need to go specifically to a place, right? And I put them in good areas, and it's been a challenge to get them out of the good areas for a good rate. It's been crazy. So one of the things that I look for, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is when they're trying to keep the rates as low as possible. And I heard this from several brokers yesterday saying that they will not come up on the money until it's almost due time for the load to move. In other words, now C.H. Robinson, I work with them a lot. They have their system in place where they will not come up on a lot of money unless it's within 24 hours of pickup time. And if you bid on JB Hunt, you'll notice the same thing. Like, so if you have a load, say on JB Hunt or CH Robinson, let's say it picks up from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And what will, and you put your bid in on JB Hunt. CH doesn't do this as much, but JB Hunt, you'll put the bid in and it'll say expiration time 5 p.m. on Monday, right? So their system is designed to wait till absolute last minute. And what I see happening is a lot of shippers aren't coming up off the money. So a lot of brokers are waiting till the last minute before they're asking for the money. And now all of a sudden, and how I know this is you start seeing a lot of team loads. And one of the frustrating things yesterday is there was a lot of these 600, 700-mile runs that were picking up at, between 8 and 3 on Monday and then having them deliver Tuesday by 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 6 a.m. And a lot of them, even if you're sitting at the shipper at the time that you booked the load, getting there by 9 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., 600, 700 miles away, it can't be done unless you're unplugging the LD. And so what I see a lot of is a lot of these loads turn into team loads because now this 2-day run has to be a 1-day run. And I was seeing a lot of that yesterday for stuff that's coming out this week. It wasn't I was looking for a load yesterday. I was looking for loads that were picking up today and tomorrow. And it was a bit of a challenge. And so when I start seeing that, and a lot of the brokers I called, they're not coming up on the money till tomorrow, that kind of thing. Well, by tomorrow, the load's going to be gone because people are desperate. They're taking what they can. I constantly get underbid. A lot of, if you have a good relationship with the broker, here's what happens. You call them up, say, hey, you got this point A to point B load. And they're like, yeah. I said, okay, well, I need to be at $2,000, right? And they're like, well, historically, these run, let's see, we've done 6 of these. One was at 14, one was at 15, one was at 1450, one was at 13, and the last one was done at 1550. I can do 1550. And now whether that's truthful or not, if you have a good relationship with a good broker, they're going to be honest with you to a certain degree, right? I mean, they have their methods, they have their ways of that they negotiate, and they have their tactics as well that they've been trained in. But for the most part, what he's saying is, or what he or she is saying is that, look, we're not going to give you 13 because that's stupid, but 1550 is about your max. And so when you look at the 123 low board or the DAP board, and look at the average rates, and you see that it's anywhere from 15 to 18, they're on the lower end of these spectrums, these scales, and you find yourself, now if you're in a high volume area, you have the option of going, you know what, this isn't my only option. I'll continue on because maybe the shipper's a pain in the butt, or maybe, there's some, maybe it's a 4:00 in the afternoon appointment delivery or something like that, so, you don't have to take that load. But where you run into that more frustratingly is when you have to have a specific truck in a specific place for a specific time, getting them home. And so what happens is you kind of have to like, well, I mean, am I going to lose this load over, $100 or $50? And, eventually the rates come down a little bit. And some of the graphs I'm going to show you this morning, it shows that volumes are up in some areas, but they're still not coming off the money. And evidence that people are starting to hold the line a little bit is that now you got all these loads that are team loads, that normally aren't a team load. It takes a super solo to get it done. And I imagine if it says team, then they're putting the money on it. That's the funny part is Well, this 800-mile load, if you could have booked it yesterday, is now a one-day load, and you're putting like, $250 on it a mile. Whereas if you would have put $225 a mile like yesterday, it probably could have moved, and you probably could have saved yourself a little bit of money. But now that money has to be shared on the team, which, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, the only teams that are successful in the spot market are husband and wife teams, because it's all going to the same place. And you run it like a super solo. But to have two incomes by one truck, one truck is having trouble in some markets sustaining one household. Imagine it trying to sustain two households. And I have yet to see, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? I have yet to see a successful team that runs the spot market that wasn't husband and wife, father, son, father, daughter, whatever. Wasn't the same family. I've yet to see a successful team running the spot market. Now, there are successful teams, but the ones running the spot market are you, like grabbing, and by that I mean grabbing loads off the load boards. I've yet to see that. Prove me wrong. Send me a link to a YouTube channel where that's being successful, but unless it's going to the same house, I've seen it fail over and over and over. That's my thoughts on that. CDN, I'm going to get to the other comments, but hey, so I need your permission, but that podcast you sent me, is that okay to play over the airwaves here? If so, tell me yes, and we'll see if we can get to it today. If not, that might be a members-only video, so doing a reaction on that. So let's get to the comments here. Bull of Woods, TJ, what's up? Top of the morning. Flatbed Trucker, good morning. Ratman Roden, good morning, Wise One. I don't know about that. Good morning from Salt Lake City, Utah. Flatbed Trucker from Randy. Flatbed Trucker, well, my day is shot. Got dead batteries. Yeah, Randy's also having some bad luck. He is not in Salt Lake City by choice. His truck said, F you, dude. And tow truck got to make some money yesterday. Or day before yesterday, actually. Charity also in the shop. Good morning. Gary Cook, good morning. Gary Bates, got to go to bed. I saw that you were live early this morning. Or no, late last night, actually. I think it was you. Shannon Thomas, good morning, everyone, for Virginia. Oh, there you go. May you spew your wisdom like an early morning pee behind the trailer. No, man, you got to use the bottle, right? See, Gary Bates in Michigan. Yeah, Michigan's kind of a weird market right now. I've got two trucks up there, and I'm like, dang, what's happened to the rates up here? CDN says yes. So I have to do an experiment to make sure that you guys will be able to hear the podcast on the StreamYards. So I might have to do a test run recorded. And if that works, then maybe that'll be a members only thing, because there's something very important about this podcast and I want everybody to know. And don't spoil it, CDN. Don't spoil it. Because I think it would kind of blow your mind a little bit. It's related to trucking, but it's not related to trucking, the aspects that you have to consider. So, anyways, we're caught up on comments. So I appreciate everybody that's coming in. If you don't mind, hit the thumbs up. And that way YouTube goes, oh, hey, someone cares about this thing. So we might push it a little bit. And we're also streaming on Facebook. So, which, I might have one person a month watches that. So, and then my Instagram account is not a business account. So it won't let me stream to that. And then Rumble, I haven't figured that out yet. So, because I'm, whatever. Let's go over the markets here real quick. I want to go over this email that CDN so graciously sends me. And it's talking about market conditions, right? Overall market, we're still in this green. For as long as we're in this dark green, it's going to be it's going to be an interesting ride. We have drivers making some good money now, and a lot of it isn't off the load boards. So I mean, just putting that out there. the just keep that in mind. And when things were really high in the market, you had the it was more in the red or the yellow. Now, what's interesting about these charts, we'll get this up here. Flatbed has gone down. It was in the loose category, and it's actually loosened up even more. So it's very soft. All of it's soft. Now, reefer is back to loose instead of soft. Of course, van it's going to be, there's been no movement on this needle overall. It's interesting that reefer market is tightening up a little bit, just a little bit, not enough to rescue your business, but enough to make things a little bit easier. However, when you go to this chart, from July to August, it went down. Now, I didn't look at this. I didn't stare at this, but this is showing July to August. I'm not sure why. So let's get rid of this here, because August was, a while ago, and these markets change quickly. Like I've seen it drastically change one direction or the other in less than a week. I've seen that, right? So let me get this off of here. Let me go to this page here. Because this will be more up to date. It's the same graphs, it's the same charts, not from Sonar, but from DAT. And yes, I do promote 123, and we'll also go over their hot market maps as well. But I what I like about this tool is these charts here. This is what kind of tells the tale, right? Let's go to Flatbed Trucker. Leave it open for everyone to watch for 24 hours, please. Thank you. Okay, Flatbed. TJ is showing up on the Facebooks. Thank you. Not sure when perception changed on the spot market. It is about the best rate. Since 2008, 95% of loads are about brokers finding the lowest cost for the shipper. Rush Specialized paid. Well, the reason why that perception changed is because a lot of the people that are struggling right now are people that saw the big rates, because of a huge event that was unprecedented in the trucking company, or in the trucking industry, not trucking company. SST, what's up? I like your avatar there. And it's meant to fill in the gaps between your contract rate. Now, there are companies that have successfully worked the spot market, have done okay with it, but even then, you got to create your own consistency, and that's where the title comes in. Markets and entitlements. The people. Here's the thing. I've offered good paying loads to drivers, and I've lost the ability to do those loads because the drivers didn't want to do them. Imagine being entitled enough that you're struggling in your business, right? You're barely making ends meet. You're hitting up the carrier owner for money. And I offer you $3 a mile for long miles coming out of Denver, Colorado. And you turn it down because you don't go northeast, or because you don't do multi-stops. Is it a lot of work? Yeah. The daily rate averaged on those $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day. Imagine having the mentality that $1,000 a day in this market is not good enough. because you won't get out of your comfort zone. That person is now out of business. Imagine that. And several others have followed. And like these multi-stop loads that I've got a lot of guys doing now. Someone asked me, would you be doing it if your truck was running? If I was running my truck full time? Absolutely. And I've shared those numbers with a few people. So it's kind of like there's a mindset that you deserve more. Like that whole, let's regulate the brokers movement. What do they say? They say that we deserve more because we as truck drivers are doing all the sacrificing. We're the ones staying away from our families. We're the ones doing this. We put our lives in danger every day, da, 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 da. And I remember having a conversation with a driver about this particular subject. And I asked him, I said, well, would you want to be a police officer? And they're like, no, man, you get shot at, you got to deal with drug addicts, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, how much money do you think they make? And he was like, I don't know. They deserve a lot. Yeah, but they're not getting that, right? Like, so, you look at the average salary of a fireman or a policeman, and you're like, what do you deserve, right? And the entitlement thing is actually what's keeping you from expanding your business. Because you're not looking at the bigger picture. Entitlement is, well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's taking this entire country down, really, if you think about it. I've been watching Wrangler Star. I've been subscribed to him, his YouTube channel. And he's down there in the Carolinas helping out Grindstone Ministries, and they're putting action to words. Right? They're down there, they're trying to help people. And all these people that they've chronicled, doing the helping, they don't sit there and say, well, we deserve this. No, they're not. They're out there like, you know what? We need to help humanity. And when it comes to business, nothing is owed to you. Nothing. And, who's the YouTuber? Let me take a look at this guy. And he made a good point. It is... Okay. All right, let's do this. History. The Living Freed channel. This guy's a truck driver. And I like his outlook. I like his perspective. And he was saying that, the title of the video with clickbait was, the trucking industry doesn't care about you. Or the trucking, doesn't care about you as drivers. And you know what? He's right. You're right. They're right. But there are companies out there that do care. There are brokers out there that are honest. There are people out there that do have a higher moral ground. And you might go, look, when you go into 3 or 4 shippers, you get treated as a second-class citizen. I get it. When you go to a truck stop and if you just spent $600 in fuel and you're trying to get a sandwich and a coffee and it costs you $10 or $15, and then the person's rude to you, you feel bad, right? You feel bad. It jades you. Talk to any driver that's been out here for more than 20, 30 years, and they're jaded to a certain degree. And, and I had a friend of mine that used to ask his trainees, why did you decide to be a second class or to do a job where you get treated like a second class citizen? And you know what? The people that answer that question honestly, they do okay. Right? It's So I get distracted with comments. I apologize. But, basically what he's saying and what I've always said is it's all about mindset. If you feel that you're entitled to something, you're going to struggle a little bit. And here's why. And look, it's our culture that has created this. Like, I can count on one hand how many birthday parties I had as a kid. But you got families doing that every single year from age 1 to age 20. Birthday party, like, we have to make a big deal about your birthday. You deserve it. How many people, how many sales tactics do you see out there? You deserve this Coca-Cola. You deserve this donut. You deserve to be pampered because you've worked hard. Well, that's entitlement. That's the culture of entitlement. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle right now, because they can't get out of their own way. Because why? They think that they're entitled. Because of their struggles, they think that they're entitled. And that's not true. Trucking don't care about your feelings. It's a DIY. I think that's DIY or Cash is King. They've got that on their merch, right? And it's absolutely true. And so I look at things differently. If you feel that brokers are not giving you a fair shake, if you feel that they're ripping you off, then why work with them? If you're working, let's say you're a company driver. If you're driving for a company that you think is ripping you off or mistreating you, you have the ability to switch companies. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and what a lot of people don't realize is that sometimes you're in a financial situation where you can't just tell the company to F you, right? And I get that. But at least you're aware of it, and you can work towards getting away from that. You learn from it. That's the thing. I learned a lot about what trucking companies can do to a person simply by watching my dad's journey and watching the other people's journey. I mean, I live in the land of prime. So I constantly heard from prime drivers what they were going through. And, and where I really started to see this mentality really take place is when I was a school bus driver. Half the drivers loved the job. I loved the job. And a lot of them were ex-truck drivers, but thinking, this job's easy, And the batch of us that actually enjoyed the job didn't struggle as much with the kids, right? We weren't always calling security. If you had an issue on the bus, you called, bus so-and-so to base, have the principal or security meet me out, in front of the school because we're having issues. And I never had that. Well, I'll take it back. One time I had to get the principal. But that was because the kid was calling, tried to call my bluff. And I ain't bluffing, dude. But for the most part, the ones that enjoyed the job didn't have as many problems. Right? And I think that if you enjoy being an entrepreneur, if you enjoy being a contractor, if you enjoy that it's all on you, you're still doing okay right now, right? If you don't have an entitlement attitude, you're still doing okay right now. The ones that think that something is owed to them, they're not doing so great. The ones that can't get out of their own way, the ones that can't choose to get out of their box a little bit, the ones that are like, I want to do what I want to do. Well, you don't have the luxury of that right now because your truck payment is due. And you're behind because of a bad load, that you chose, a while back. And you what you have to understand is the majority of people that I see going out of business, it's their own doing. Now, there are some that, you had a catastrophe at home, so you have to go home, and now you can't make money on the road, which, that's different. That's not you. But this is what I'm seeing. And I lose subscribers when I talk like this because people hate the truth. That was one of the points I was making to Shannon a while back. You are in control. And it's just how it is. I constantly think, what would I be doing if I owned a truck right now? Well, my relationships that I have with these brokers would help me. I would want to set the truck up to a way that it would make me money and not have that big huge breakdown that could bankrupt me. And I would do everything I can to not be making 30 phone calls a day just trying to move one load. Let's go to the comments. Ghost Cat, how come low boards don't list the names and addresses of shippers and receivers? Well, Uber does, CH does, some of the private low boards do, but for the most part, they don't want that. Hell, some brokers won't even give the information until you're actually on the way to the load, like TQL, for example. You got to jump through 10 hoops and be on your way before they send you the Raycom with the shipper and receiver information. But it's a competitive market, right? So, and the brokers are stepping over each other to get this rate, and then they don't want carriers going in and saying, hey, I can move this for a lot less than what you're paying that broker. Steve, I just emailed you a revised market report that came out next morning. That one chart is fixed, showing up to October. Okay, we'll take a look at that. My buddy is in the same boat. His mindset is exactly what you stated, and now he's flat broke. He is now in Florida mowing lawns. See, look, I'm not some guru. I'm not some educated prophet. I see where, look, I've learned a lot about human nature. Hold on. It's just that I see what doesn't work, right? I mean, ask any person that's invented something. Like Ratman Roden. I'm sure he's gone through a couple of product lines that just didn't flat out work, but the ones that are working, he's doing well with. It's a trial and error process. And what I see is a lot of people, through human nature, have trouble getting out of their own way. You see it in all facets of life, not just in business, but like addiction recovery or financial issues, financial management. And nobody's perfect. Trust me. If someone says they're perfect, they're lying to you. But it's easy to see what does not work. Someone not tracking their numbers, guess what? That eventually falters. And I have tons of evidence to back it up. If the market is down, and let's say your favorite lane isn't paying, and you still choose to not get out of that lane, that usually ends in disaster. That usually forces the driver to get out of that lane, or they go under. I've seen it over and over. It almost happened to me over and over and over. So it's not like I'm some prophet, guru, educated. I'm just a guy on this side of the steering wheel now. And I know, and look, I'm looking at 20 trucks here at the company. And I see what's working and what's not working. I see, and the people that are making it happen, it's their mindset. and their foundation. The foundation is ultimately the most important thing. TC Boggs answers Ghost Cat's question. So you as a carrier don't call the shippers directly, book below Ghost Cat. CDN says the spot market has been affected by Amazon effect, just like LME, Lakeville Motor Express. Went bankrupt after 40 plus years as an LTL carrier, jumped on Amazon contract for volume, but lost much money. Yeah, I mean, because sometimes to order and maintain these contracts, you have to drop the price. And see, not knowing your numbers, you have to know what's sustainable and what's not. So if I went out there and bought 100 trucks and I got 100 drivers because Amazon gave me a contract, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. You know why? Because I knew eventually they're eventually going to want something in return. If I can't keep the drivers fed and I can't keep the trucks rolling, then I fail on the contract. And if Amazon keeps saying we need to lower the rate, we need to lower the rate, we need to lower the rate, then it's a lose-lose situation. Mrs. A, healthcare industry doesn't care about me, nor does it care, or does the hospital I work for, but my manager and team lead like me, okay, and that's really matters day to day. Right. You might work for a big corporation, but at the end of the day, it's how you're treated by the person in front of you or the person directly related to your job, right? Sterling Wheel, good morning. Are you related to Randall Carlson? I don't know who that is. I enjoyed a milk bone yesterday. It was good. A milk bone, isn't that like a dog treat, Gary? Or are you making a joke? David Edwards, good morning. Hey, you've got a avatar now. Sterling, children ultimately focus on what you didn't give them. That's why it's important to teach gratitude and grace. And give me an example, Sterling. It's interesting to see, like, we've had drivers here in the past, sit there and talk about, well, Jeff's getting his 20%. What's he doing for me? I've literally heard that. And one of the people that used to say that is the reason why I don't put out an open public link on the StreamYard anymore. But here's the thing. I talked to a fleet owner. I had dinner with him a couple of weeks ago. He runs a fleet out of Colorado there. And he had a driver that goes out of his way to not pick big paying loads because he is more focused on what the carrier's getting, not on what he's getting. I kid you not. This is a real thing. If I book a load for myself for $1,000, I get 80%. That's my contract. I'm getting $800 out of $1,000. Okay. I don't focus on that $200 that the carrier's getting. And that's entitlement, right? That's why, brokers are taking 50%. Okay, but if they're giving you a fair rate, then who cares what they're making? Right? If your cost per mile is $1.65, which I doubt it is, but let's say it is. Let's say you got your A game, right? And you're getting $2.25 a mile for this load. Do you think the broker's sitting there like, man, I can't believe that profit margin it's just high. We need to regulate these drivers. No, the broker's getting his share, you're getting your share, and the load's getting moved. One and done. Hey, will you do it again? The Bible app thing this morning talked about gratitude. Like, instead of focusing on the things that you're not getting, instead of focusing on all the bad things that are out of your control, focus on what you're grateful for. Focus on what you do have. If you're sitting in the hotel because your truck's broke down, be grateful that you're able to afford the repair. Be grateful that you have the hotel. Be grateful that you were able to get towed and you're not stranded somewhere. And Randy and I have talked about that because that's what he's dealing with. That's what I've had to deal with. Because you know what? I have been stranded. I have been broke down. I was broke. The first major breakdown I had as an owner-operator where I felt really alone, it was 30 below wind chill. I was in Indiana, and my truck decided to flip me the bird. And I literally sat 24 hours at a Subway. Luckily, they were open. You know, this is before the vid. And it took that long to get a road crew out to help me out. And they reamed me on price. But you know what? I was grateful that I was at a truck stop because I originally wasn't going to park there. I was grateful that the Subway was cool with me, dealing with what I was dealing. I was grateful that when the truck finally did get up and running, I was grateful for that. And I was grateful that I did have, even though they were kind of a crappy service, I was grateful for the experience because it told me, guess what? This is what I need to look out for. This is what I need to look out for. And then I end up getting my truck turned up. So, because that was the problem. The fuel filter froze. It gelled up because when I idled the truck, I couldn't bump it up to high idle. So it was doing no good. I learned so much from that trip, even though at the time it was one of the most miserable experiences of my life. So when I blew my turbo a year later and I didn't need a tow, I had a hotel literally across the street from the shop, and I had money to pay for the repair, and I had money for food and the hotel itself. I was grateful for that. Is it a still negative, situation? Absolutely. Gratitude is how you defeat depression. Gratitude is how you defeat the entitlement. There's a lot of things I want to say, but I can't right now because it would probably irritate a lot of people. Outcast, what's up? Only good news this morning, please. Good news is that you're alive, you're breathing, and you have the gift of discernment, and there are many things within your control. Cheap free holler. Steve, I believe as long as you play that podcast through Google Chrome, add the check the box computer audio, it should work. Okay. It takes 3 to 6 months to get a customer, regardless if you're a carrier or broker. Always keep your cards close to your chest hidden. Share sparingly due to so many fake MCs or numbers backdooring. Right. Sage, what went down on double broker or load stealing situation? Call me later. Gary Cook, the last 2 weeks I went back to USA Power only and doing better. I've been doing better. The spot market wasn't for me. You were making a joke. Okay. Capitalism is a manipulation of market transparency. That's all you need to know. Says Sterling. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I will keep saying the ultimate solution in the spot market is base plus fuel surcharge plus accessorial charge way of rating loads. If we don't get away from the all-in rates, we will have the same talk 5+ years from now. There are brokers that do fuel surcharge. You book the load for $1,500, and then you get a rate con for $1,200 plus whatever fuel surcharge is. That adds up to $1,500. Stop noticing things, Sterling. DIY, he and I have talked about this. Did someone say entitlement, right? Clothing, shoe companies, 60% of grocery items are making 50% margin. Milk, bread, pop, chips are low margin loss leaders to draw people to their store. That's true. Leased owner-operator that are focused on what the carrier's making don't understand the cost of carrying unfactored receivables for 30, 45 days. Right, and also they don't understand the amount of paperwork, the amount of compliance, the amount of, doing the, the invoicing. Even if you're factoring, they're not taking out the factoring fees. They're not taking the fact that, the insurance, And most of the time when I have a driver tell me that they're more interested in what Jeff's making and what they're not making, then they usually don't last long. They usually get their own authority, and then they find out firsthand. Or they go to a carrier with a higher percentage, which really doesn't mean squat, depending on what their fees are. It's a manipulation of numbers meant to draw on the emotions that you're more concerned about what you're not getting versus what you are getting. It's human nature. We've all been in the schoolyard where that kid's playing with a toy that you weren't playing with, but you're going to take that toy because you don't want him playing with it, right? Because you're more obsessed. And look, the fear of missing out sells a lot of stuff, man. It sells stocks. It sells trucks. It sells trailers. It sells food. Let's say that you're good about your diet, right? You're like, I'm not eating any processed foods. And then you see some super duper flavored, different, cool Oreo that's limited time. Limited time. That term, limited time, is built on the foundation that they want you to sell something from fear of missing out. Limited time. I remember when McDonald's, this is how old I am. I mean, I don't know if you can tell by this awesome beard I have. But I remember when Happy Meals came out and it was limited time. Now they just do certain toys. Limited time. Right? Limited time. That's a fear of missing out, right? And that sells things. That's what makes people jump on a stock. That's what makes people buy Bitcoin. You better get in on this while it's still hot, man. And that's why we flooded the market with too many authorities, bringing our rates down a little bit. Because people were fear of missing out. People that had their trucks taken away, that filed bankruptcy, got in the game again by some miracle. They went and overspent on truck, or they got in some ridiculous lease that they didn't read, and now they're struggling. Limited time. When rates are good, it's a limited time. But the good news is, and Chief Freight Hauler, this is for you as well. Good news is that low rates don't last forever either. So the best thing you can do is insulate yourself. Like, for example, the food analogy that I used. Doesn't matter if these super duper Oreos are limited time, limited edition, holiday limited edition. If you have it in your head that that's poison and that it doesn't matter, there's nothing that will taste good enough to make you hurt again or to make you diabetic. And when you have that mindset, limited time offers on food products don't matter. And so if you can establish a consistent basis on your business, I don't care what the business is, fear and throw that fear of missing out the window, now you create a strong foundation that survives different market conditions. Now, with that being said, you want to look for opportunity, but base that decision not off of fear of missing out, but as seeing an opportunity. And usually you see the opportunities before the fear of missing out kicks in. In other words, you got to predict the stocks that are going to do well, because by the time they are doing well, it's too late to get in. So just kind of keep that in mind. TJ Later, thanks for coming in on the Facebook and YouTubes. T-Bone, what's up? Josh, what's up? 519, 15 van opportunities posted on DAP between now and Friday. I'm sure there's a few profitable loads available. Right. 51,915 van opportunities posted on DAP between now and Friday. I'm sure there are a few profitable loads available. Yes. SST, fear of missing out, sells toilet paper. It does. I'm looking for a factoring company that accepted doctor receivables. LOL, says David. Marty, how many W-2 company drivers with benefits are paying better than ICs? There's quite a bit. You know, every Walmart driver. It depends. Look, there are some times in the market where company drivers are making more, and there are some times in the market where they're making less. That transition has always happened. It's always like that. And so what I tell people when they want to become an owner-operator or an IC, I said, well, what's your purpose? What's your goal? If your goal is to make more money than a company driver, you're going to have to do the things that will make you more money than a company driver. If your goal is for freedom, well, that freedom comes at a cost, and you're going to have to work a little bit to get there. You can't just go out and buy a brand new truck and run casually because you don't want to work weekends or holidays. It doesn't work like that. You got to build your way to that point. My first year as an owner-operator was rough. I was out, more than I was as a company driver. But when I was home, I was more present, and I was home for, a little bit longer without the pressure of having to go back out until the bills were like, hey, let's go. You got to go, dude. And that's when I realized, I probably should never put myself in a position where I have a $4,000 a month truck note. Because I might have all the freedom to choose all I want, but that truck payment's like, no, you don't. That birthday party, you got to skip it. That holiday, you got to go. Because $4,000 doesn't pay itself, dude. Right? And these are all lessons that I've learned the hard way. Now, I've never had a $4,000 truck note, but I did have a truck that was costing me about $4,000 a month in other expenses plus the payment. And guess what? I wasn't running to sustain that. I had to learn that by doing my numbers. Right? Let's put this up here. Jason, what's up, man? Do any of you email your infrequently used brokers a coupon for 10% off your next load as a way to gain more loads from that broker? Not in that way, CDN. What happens is and let me explain something to you, CDN. So, and I've seen this over and over, and I've dealt with it myself. So let's say there's a steady run, and WCF Invader can attest to this. Let's say you have a steady run from Kansas City to St. Louis, right? It's a dedicated round-trip run, okay? And let's say you're getting 1,000 for it. No, that's not enough for a round trip. But let's say you're getting 1,000 for each time you go to Kansas City to St. Louis. And so you find a backhaul back to do it again. You keep doing that over and over. Okay. Then one day the broker calls and says, hey, man, we're lowering the rate on these. We're going to be at $9.50. You still want it? Now you're looking at the other market conditions. And you're like, well, this is a steady gig. Man, that sucks that they're lowering the rate. But yeah, I guess I will. Next thing you know, within a couple of months, you're doing it for $800. And then you look at the rest of the market, you realize that you could be making more by stepping outside of that lane. So I don't see a point of giving that broker that 10% off when they're dropping the rates anyways. Now, I will say this. If you have a situation where like this $3 mile stuff I was getting out of Denver, there was a point where she came up with this price of it was like $6,448. I said, look, I'll do it for $6,400 even. I've done that just to keep that lane going. And did it do me any good? Eventually, no, because they lowered the rate even more, and then someone came in and outbid us. Right? It's a dog-eat-dog world. So it's a give and take. Now, so we don't call it a 10% coupon. If they normally run this lane for $1,500 and everybody's asking for $1,800, but you can run it for $1,500, then that's how you gain consistency. That's when they call you and say, hey, I've got another one of these. And I get that a lot. However, eventually they're like, oh, dude, we're at 14 now because the computer, the AI, the shipper has said it's got to be 1,400 now. And this past week, they're dropping rates even low. It was tough to break $2 a mile coming out of Michigan. It's been a long time since I've seen that. The only way you're getting $2 coming out of Michigan in dry van is if you're going to Florida, North Carolina, or Denver. That's it. Or it was 12 stops for 1,000 miles more than what the mileage actually was. So in some ways you say a good game, but that's not how it works. But it works differently. It's worded differently. There's a give and take in a good relationship, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a business relationship. There's give and take both directions, right? Independent contractor makes business before money. That is good. That is good. Cattleman says, amen. Say no to high overhead. That's true. Company driver makes money in spite of business, right? My goal when coming to owner-operator was more freedom over being an employee. Mine too. I've pulled 2 short loads in the last 3 weeks. Rest of the time I've been home, right? That was why I became an owner-operator. And I knew that with a high overhead that you still don't have those freedoms. I couldn't have done that if I was still working at a fuel company. Right. I had an opportunity to work for a fuel company here locally. A friend of mine, we both went to the same CDL school, had the class, and we're both at the local Springfield company. And he eventually got off the road and went to run this fuel. And he said, dude, I can get you on. And my wife, in her wisdom, said, you know what? I bet you would hate that and you would be home less. So a year later, my friend calls. He goes, yeah, it's not a glorified job anymore. It's just a regular job, and I've got less freedom now than when I was OTR. I'm like, wow, my wife was right. And I had a suspicion it was going to be like that. And I know a couple of people have gone that route, and they'll say the same thing. You sick? Too bad. Snowing outside? Too bad. You got to go, right? Paid vacation benefits, 401k are undervalued because most owner-operators do not know how to manage their money to set aside for these funds. I would agree with that. Gary says, how many Christmases did you have to stay out? I've stayed out a few. 0. I have never, ever missed a Christmas. My dad was an owner-operator. He never missed a Christmas. As a company driver, I never worked at Christmas. Now, there was a time where if you worked over Christmas, you made some killer money. But most of the time, most of these places are shut down. My goal when I went to Landstar originally, my goal was to not work, not have to run the truck from December 1st to February 1st. Never quite got there, but I got close. I would stay home the week of Thanksgiving. I would stay home for 2 or 3 weeks in December to help the wife with the kids and all the house stuff that, gets added, during the holiday. The closest I've ever come is I have left out on the road on December 26th. When I went to Schneider, I literally had Christmas morning, then December 26th, early in the morning, I had to leave to go to Green Bay for orientation. And because it was like, what's the point of doing this if I can't be there present for my family? Because let me inform you guys and gals of something. And I had this talk with a couple of our drivers. One of them's probably in here still, hopefully. At the end of the day, if you've got kids or, husband or wife, they're only going to remember the times that you weren't at home over the holiday versus the amount of money you're making. Now, if you have a spouse saying you need to stay out because, we need to make our car payment or whatever, then you're probably not managing things correctly. Or that person, just is more interested in the money than your presence. That's a whole different topic. But they're only going to remember the times that you weren't there for their birthday, for their Christmas. Now, I have missed a couple of birthdays, but birthdays are kind of rough in our house because they're all in the same month, except for mine. And I work my birthday all the time. It's not a big deal. So we would arrange a designated time, and I would take several days off around that time versus trying to take this day off and then this day off and then this day off. And the kids understood that, right? But I bet you that somewhere in their life they remember the times that I wasn't there on their actual birthday. The more you have your act together, the more freedom you can attain for yourself, the more choices you have, and you can create that balance that's needed between being a business owner and being a present and prudent family man or woman, whatever side of the boat you're on. Discount only works for products, not services. That is correct. Cattleman D, a race to the bottom in freight at the current moment. Who can haul these loads for the cheapest? The customer and broker only benefit. Okay, love you. Be careful. She's right, Snorelord. I did fuel for 17 years. Very little presence at home when you work 12 to 16 hours a day and don't let your governor suspend hours of service because of hurricane and pipeline problems. Right. After Katrina, I spent as much as 21 hours a day in the cab at a time. Yeah, that's no good. The freedom both owner-operators and broker agents gain often comes at a price. That 15, 20, yes, later, no retirement fund, no paid vacations, right. And I recognize that, So it's just how it is. Look, people get upset at me because I talk, like, I don't know, sometimes my views seem as negative. I would, maybe in some ways they are, but I've always been the worst case scenario type of guy. And I do know that through trial and error that freedom comes at a cost. I mean, the freedoms that we have today in this country came at a cost. And we're fixing to lose some of them if we're not careful. And you know what? If that time comes, it's going to come at a cost. And I just want to be real with you. When I was in CDL school, I was able to discern between the recruiters that were saying the right things and the recruiters that were just blowing a lot of hot air. That it's that simple, right? It's that simple. And entitlement keeps you from seeing opportunity. Entitlement keeps you from, okay, who's really manipulating you and taking advantage of you versus you're just in your own way. Does like trucking make money off of contractors? Absolutely. That's the purpose of the carrier, is to make money. Do we take advantage of them? No. If I felt that that was the deal, I wouldn't be here. We give drivers the platform to run business their own way. If they need coached, we coach them. But most of them don't want coaching because they've got to either figure it out or they can't get out of their own way. We have a good core group of drivers that have figured things out, and they're doing okay now, despite the market conditions. And I've always said that you have to insulate yourself from market conditions. So if you're 100% spot market, well, how do you do that? Well, first thing you do is keep your costs low. Second thing to do is create relationships where you're not making 20 phone calls for every single load, every single time you got to move. It's that simple. I'm going to come up with a new tagline for a t-shirt. It's that simple. Sage says we need to talk on new Carrier 411 rules. I haven't dived into that. I probably need to. But anyways, let's look at the market conditions. I'll shut the hell up about other stuff, and let's look at the market conditions. All right, so we see this is dry van, California, Arizona. Arizona's green again, which is good. Missouri's not too bad. Let's look at Michigan. I was complaining about Michigan earlier. Oh, look at this. $2.09 a mile. Go to Texas. Let's take a look at that one. Picks up today, delivers Friday, 8 a.m. $44 above my cost per day. I'm going to guess that this is probably a drop trailer or something like that. They're a little bit higher than... they're not too bad. It probably needs to go right now, though. Let's sort this by highest rate per mile. Let's see where all the shorties are going out of Michigan. Ooh, $30,000. Go to Lakeland, Florida. Hook me up. Someone get me a truck. Quick. I love it. I love typos. St. Clair, Michigan, picking up Tuesday. This is either a project or a mistype. So let's drop this down. They've done this a couple of times. It must be a method that they're doing. You get them on the top of the people like me that search for highest rate per mile, right? $600, $800, 2,000. Now this is more realistic. Lapeer, Michigan, to Pittston Township, Pennsylvania. They're at 2,000. Cargo's got this at $1,475. Drop trailer. See, any kind of big money, you're dropping the trailer, and you got to be aware of the mileage because you ain't going this way. It's taking you through Canada. You can't do that. So, Crosswell, Michigan to Long Island, $2,100, $343 a mile. But let's take a look at this. Picks up Friday at 2:30, delivers at noon on Monday. Right? They're at 21. Car Chief's got this at 1339. So why is it much higher? But let's look at the tolls. $254.34 in tolls. But this could be a good profitable load. Again, you got to watch the mileage, though, because it's got you going through Canada. That's the thing with Michigan. You got to look at the maps first. Don't just trust the broker's board or the slow board, or even that for that example. DAT will put an airplane symbol on that kind of stuff, usually, but not always. So now it goes back to what I was saying. Anything above $2 is going northeast or Florida or Colorado. Or it's so short it's not worth the daily rate. Like this one, $600 go to Walled Lake, Michigan to Kenton, Ohio. Now, landing in Ohio, if this lands you like tomorrow, that's not a bad spot. That's how you have to look at it. Hardly any of it's going west. Well, you got one, Holland, Michigan to Hazelwood, Missouri. Picking up tomorrow, right? No, picking up Friday. Fines for missed appointments, 2 to 3 hours prior. Call receiver 2 to 3 hours prior to arrival. Must arrive on Monday. Tracking requirements. So this is probably construction. I've been doing a lot of that lately. I had 3 loads in a row at one point that was all like newly built things. Here we go. Kalamazoo to Tulsa. Picking up Friday, deliver Monday. That's a good run for the weekend. Tulsa's not bad. Steel furniture. Who sits on steel furniture? All right. Unless you're at McDonald's or something. Not too bad, right? I got a truck available yesterday. I need to get set up with Amazon. They currently have Maryland, New Jersey, Orlando, Tampa posted for $9,000. Wow. What does 123 say about some good paying power only loads? Nothing. We've gone over this. The power only on 123 is predominantly load out trailers. Like let's pick Indiana. Let's do. Oh, let's change it. Oh no, it's power only. Okay. Highest rate. Let's see what the highest rate is. 2,600 to go from Columbia City to Ogden, Utah. This is a loadout trailer. Is it? It says appointment required. I don't know if this is a loadout trailer or not. It doesn't say. Might just be a specialized trailer. Let's look at these Lafayette to Neenah, Wisconsin. They're actually paying a regular rate. Hook and drop. No loads. These are not loadout trailers. $35,000 trailer interchange required. So my guess this is might be reefer trailers that they don't want anything in them yet. Now I will say this. The auctions are selling trailers like hotcakes. And there's some opportunity there. Especially if you're around an auction site. Let's say the trucking company, buys 20 trailers. Well, they need them all moved. Desperation turns the screws. That's actually correct. I say aggression turns the screw. Well, so does desperation. Desperation is forced aggression. I need a break from those construction loads. LOL. That's charity. That's true. But it's actually green, but a lot of this is going to be load-out trailers. Well, here we go. Garland to Alexander, 404 a mile, $1,200. Let's see what this is about. Store fixtures and racks. So it's a preloaded trailer, I bet. This is surprising me. Most of them are like this: Eagle Pass, Texas to Henderson, Colorado, $500, 51 cents a mile. Power only. 53 reefer loads available. 5 load type, load out. Carriers, we need this trailer delivered. Use it to load your freight. See website for details. One-way trailers. A lot of those. One-way trailers has a ton. Anything like this is like a regular rate. That's probably going to be a specialized trailer that you can't or won't unload. Like those tank deals that look crooked, like those, or like special farm trailers, special construction trailers, or a stack of flatbeds, something like that, right? Buck Brown says the neighbor is filling his field up with yellow freight pups. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, he probably bought them from the auction and is using them for storage. That was like my ultimate dream. If we had our land set up already, my trailer was going to be a storage trailer, but I made more money selling it. So, all right, let's take a look at reefer here. Let's take out power only. Here's the thing about power only. I would work for a carrier like that specialized in it. In other words, like trailer move. I forget the name of the company, but they're out of Indiana. I talked to a couple of their guys, and they actually do okay for the rate. Their cost per mile is a lot lower. So if Snyder or Prime orders like 100 trailers, it's just easier for this trailer movement company to do that, to bring them to the yard from Wabash or whatever. And the power only of the mega carriers, like doing power only for Snyder or power only for exclusively for Schneider, exclusively for JB Hunt, that now you're dealing with the carriers' issues as well as dealing with their trailer issues. And so, like at Schneider, when I was at Schneider, box movement, so if I dropped a trailer at, say, a Walmart DC, and they didn't have another one for me to get, I would have to, I would get paid. If it was under 50 miles, I didn't get paid, but basically got $1 a mile to go beyond 50 miles to grab a trailer. And what I've seen firsthand, like with JB Hunt's deal, is you might be told to live unload at this Walmart DC, but then you've got to take the trailer to this other place that they need it dropped at. And so when you do like, okay, I'll do this load for $2,000, at $2.25 a mile, well, it could cost you an extra day. It could cost you actually more per mile because it's not a one and done. So there might be a point where you've got four stops that you got to make. You got to pick up the trailer in one place, then go live load it at another place, and then live unload the trailer at the second place, and then drop it somewhere else, which we did that at Schneider all the time. So the Schneider JB Hunt thing, if you got your own authority, or Amazon kind of works the same way. What are you getting compensated for, and what aren't you getting compensated for? He's up to 15 so far. I wonder what he's getting them for. Medallion is a good company for power only. Right. But then, guys, if you follow Pale Rider, he went to a power only company for 30 days, and it kind of screwed him up. It was interesting, but here's the other thing about power only. You don't have to, you have to keep in mind. Let's say Coyote calls and says, "Hey, we need you to run mail runs for a while." 30 days, run their trailers, right? Run the mail trailers. Well, what condition are those trailers? How easy is it to get a tire or brake, changed out or repaired without a bunch of red tape, without a bunch of delay? Are they kind of like egging you on to move bad equipment that could possibly affect your score? So if you're a 1 or 2 or 3 truck operation, a couple out of services because the company you're pulling trailers for doesn't maintain them, that could put you out when it comes to insurance renewal time. So it's, in my opinion, the best way to be an owner-operator, if you're at a small company like ours or your own, is to have your own trailer. Because a lot of the good paying stuff that's not on the load boards that I do, I would not be able to negotiate into that if I had to constantly look for a trailer. And so it's hard to build consistency unless that's all you specialize in. But even then, you can't get into some of the same doors that other carriers are able to get into. At the end of the day, the markets needs carriers offering a variety of trailer types and carriers who offer both regional and national coverage. Without it, goods won't be distributed. Thank you, owner-operators. Thank you, CDN. That is true. All right, so we've got reefer up here. A lot of yellow going on up here through the western states. Idaho's green, of course. California's green. Let's take a look at Michigan. Oh, Michigan's yellow. Let's take a look at Wisconsin. Let's see a look at the reefer stuff out of Wisconsin. $6.67 a mile to go to Franklin Park, Illinois. Let's take a look at that one. That's an interesting load. Normal rate's about $8.54. They're way higher. Call Caitlin. Let's see. $1,800 go to Newport, Michigan. A lot of regional stuff out of Wisconsin. That's good. A lot of regional. Here's $4,500 to go to Lakeland. $31 to go to Swedesboro, New Jersey. $302 to go to South Carolina. $4,000 to go to Haines City, Florida. Let's take a look at that one, and then let's see what the backhaul rate looks like. $35. 20 loads coming out of Haines City. 0 going right back to Wisconsin. Let's look at the highest rate on these. Highest paying thing is $3,400 go to California, $1,100 go to Texas, $1.50, 90 cents a mile to go to Florida, to North Chesterfield, Virginia. $1.23 to go to Memphis. So, here we go. Sanford, Florida, Warren, Michigan. Let's take a look at this one. No double brokers. We'll put a freight guard on your MC number for fraud. Hear that? So picks at 2,000. 5 drop. So 5 drops for. Well, they don't have a rate posted, so you got to price this yourself. Text, email broker with your MC number and your truck's ETA to the shipper. No double brokers. We will put a freight guard on your MC number for fraud. Star. So depending on what this is, but if you have to get back to Wisconsin in a time frame, this may not be the load for you. So, just keep that in mind when you're going into a bad area like Florida for big money. not saying don't do it. I'm just saying you're going to have some challenges, and you got to have the mindset to overcome those challenges. Hey, kind of like life, right? Man, we're at an hour and a half almost. I apologize. I shouldn't be on here this long. All right, let's take a look at flatbed and step deck. Then we're going to get out of here. When a broker offers a round trip load, do you discount off the market average of both markets? I don't know. I don't really bid on a whole lot of round trip. Usually round trip, they're set in their ways, and I divide the rate by half just in case they cancel. So the second leg. I think when I was running my own truck, I only did like one round trip that was like I delivered at a auto plant in Michigan and grabbed loaded product or empty racks bag. It's loaded product in, empty racks bag. And that actually did pretty good. It was good money for the round trip. So that's kind of a that's an open-ended question. It's got to be a sustainable rate both directions. Right? So, anyways, there's your flatbed step deck markets. Colorado's green. Let's take a look at that. Wow, there's a lot of outbound out of Colorado for flatbed. Of course, highest paying stuff's going to Wyoming, Utah. That's interesting. Let's do the highest rate here. Yeah, $1.40 going to Maine out of Montrose. Yeah. Let's take a look at that load. Let's say that you got to get back to Maine. Go visit Sage over there. Picks up today, delivers Friday at 2,400 miles. So there's that issue. Oh, you got to love it. Cargo Chief's got this at 58. Right? That's the bills. Green Screens has got it as low as 37, as high as 6,000. Is this a partial? No. 47,300 on the weight. No tarp. Ooh, bonus. Right? So let's look at $73 in tolls, which ain't bad. $1,428 in fuel. This is why it's important for you to know your numbers. Because when you see fluctuations like this, you got to know what you need. Not what you deserve, but what you need and what you want. Right? We all deserve $5 a mile. Yeah, entitlement, right? Some of us don't deserve nothing per mile. That's a double negative. Some of us don't deserve anything per mile. And they got a bunch of these. $2,400 miles is a long time to be under your profit margin. So that's what you got to deal with. So you got to stay out of your own way, stay out of your head, and you're not entitled to anything. So sucks, I know, but that's how it is. So with that being said, strength for today over tomorrow. Look, you can make it. You can do good. You just got to figure it out. Sometimes by trial and error, sometimes by listening to people that are much smarter than me. Strength for today over tomorrow. Desperation. Screw it. It turns to screw. See ya.